Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. We are here today for another very interesting episode of podcast. The topic we selected today was, gender diversity in M&A, Unveiling the Imbalance. Today we have our guest, and she is the one who really suggested this topic, and we wanted to bring this to our audience. And we found that, not many people have been talking about this. So we are here today, and Beatrice Mitchell, she is managing director for her company. I would like her to give short introduction, and then we'll start from there.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you virtually. I am Beatrice Mitchell. I am the co-founder with Paul Sperry of Sperry Mitchell and Company, and we are a 35-year-old investment banking boutique. We do one thing and one thing only, and that is to sell privately held companies.
Okay, so welcome, for this
Thank
episode.
you.
And so we have a couple of topics, and the questions which we thought will be, more beneficial for our audience. So since we have been talking about gender diversity in my, M&A career, I met several, female who were part of M&A team for many years. Even I think I had a boss who was also a female and part of corporate development team. So my question to you, Michelle, is, what are the specific statistics or data that reveal the gender imbalance in M&A?
So let me start by saying these statistics are U.S. oriented. I don't have world statistics, but I want to start with the state of women in the United States in general. So if we look at academics, more than half of the college-educated labor force in the U.S. is female, 51%. 62% of all master programs, 62% of the people attending master programs now, currently, are women. College presidents, 33%. This, I think, is fascinating. Private companies, 42% of all businesses in the US are owned by women. Women of color account for 50%, and 1,800 new women-owned businesses are created in the US every day. So you'd think, given these statistics, that things should continue on, especially since women are running companies, that we see a complete sort of 50-50 gender balance in the US. But you don't. Let's look first at, well, here's an interesting statistic, one which is an outlier. Every US news organization is now headed by a woman, primarily because the men were all called out for Me Too issues. So that's very unusual. Wasn't true, say, 3 years ago. And I want to talk first about the organizations that, or the sectors that are doing well in the US. Let's start with accounting. 62% of accounting professionals are women. 38% are partners. Very extraordinary, I think. Law, 40% of lawyers in the US are women. 48% are women attorneys, are associates. 25%, almost 26% are equity partners. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
This is, I think, actually the most impressive. Well, let's go backwards. Engineers are 16.5% female, although STEM, this is huge, I think, because it wasn't true, say, 10 years ago, are 28% of the workforce women are. But now let's look at medicine. Medicine, in my mind, since I wasn't very good at chemistry and biology, I think it's very hard. 37% of all active physicians in this country are women. But let's look at who's coming up. 47% of residents and fellows are now women. So you could say, go forward 15 years, and you're probably going to see a balance there of all everybody in medicine. 37% are dentists. And this, I think, is the most interesting statistic. 23% are surgeons. You think how hard it is to become a surgeon. And when we get to PE, what you're going to hear from the men is, oh, it's the women have to take care of the children, and it's way too hard a career. I would put to you that being a surgeon is probably takes the most training and is probably the hardest profession, or at least one of the hardest in the world. So the fact that 23% of women are now surgeons says that women can perform. Now we're going to look at business. So what's happening in more in business? So we have 42% of management consultants are women. Good. 31% of women of U.S. partners are women. Very good. Financial services, 46% of all the employees are women. Good. But we only have 54 female CFOs of the 500 companies that we looked at, the Fortune 500 companies. Not so good. Fund managers. This is depressing. Only 12% of fund managers are women. And here's the really bad statistics. Venture capital firms, and there's a lot of press about this. So you've read this, you know this. Only 5.5% women-led, and 5%, less than 5% are female partners. How about banks? Banks, 56% of the 1.9 million total employees in banking are women. U.S. banks had more female employees in 2021, but only 10 CEOs. At Goldman Sachs, 42% are women, but only 23% are senior management or in senior management. Women in leadership positions, 44%. But again, they're not senior managers. They get to a certain point and then it seems to stop. Now we're going to talk about what you're all here to hear about, which is private equity. So every time I go to a meeting of senior people in private equity, and this will be a big private equity firm will have an event, let's say, and I'll go and I always count. And let's say there'll be 100 people there, and there'll be 4 or 5 women consistently. This has been true. Well, it used to be me and 99 men. Now it's 4 or 5 women and 95 men. But when I look around the room, and you'll hear a lot of press about from private equity firms, oh, we have a diversity and equity program. And yes, we hire lots of women. And oh, we don't know why they can't make partner. We don't know which, and why do you want to make partner? Because that's where the money is. I don't see them. They're not there. I remember being on a Zoom for, we were selling a company during COVID, and we had 8 buyer meetings, all with good size private equity firms. And I counted, because it would be 10 people. You could have a lot of people on the Zoom. Maybe you in a regular meeting have 3 or 4 if everybody was traveling to get to the company. But no, you'd have 10, maybe even 15 people. And out of those 8 meetings, there was 1 woman besides me. So, anecdotally, all I can tell you is there aren't a lot of women in private equity in senior positions. So if I look at, with the statistics that you read say that 12% of women in private equity are managers, managing directors, and 16% are principals and partners. But if I look at my database, and I think I really trust my database because it's been collected over many years, and who's in my database? It's people who reach out to us, people we reach out to. It'll be the person who brings in the deal and then pretty much automatically goes to the associates, and then it trickles its way up to the partners who will make the eventual decision.
Right.
So we have 4,200 people, let's say, in our leveraged buyout database. Okay. How many do you think are women? 4.8%. 4.1% are managing directors. So these are people we're talking to all the time. Where are the women? 39% are in business development roles. Now, what is business development? It means you're bringing in the business. What are you doing? You're traveling, probably 5 days a week. You're doing nothing but trying to bring in the business. But are you an equity player? Are you a partner in the firm? Generally, no. Almost always no. So in other words, what's happening? The women are being shunted to the business development role. Sometimes the chief financial officer, which I think is a difficult role, but probably doesn't get as much points in the equity. You see women who are analysts and associates, and then there'll be a lot of, oh dear, I don't know why they don't make it up. It's too hard. They'll have to take care of the children. Well, guess what? The surgeons are also taking care of their children. They're also doing incredibly hard jobs. They're also working terrible hours, probably much work, pulling all-nighters, much more difficult jobs. So I don't know. Why don't these women progress? I think that's the question on the table.
Right. So I think since you had, 30 years of your database and you trust, I think that is right database then, because most of these, sailors who are coming to you, you have the good
It's an
connection.
honest
Yeah,
database.
it's honest
Right.
database. You don't have to, this is not database which is built by someone. So I
Right.
think I will also trust your database. And then my next question is, right, since you gave this statics, I understand that, there are many humans, females, but they are in the lower level, not at the partner and, in the senior level. So my next question, primarily to, what are the challenges faced by women in pursuing career in M&A? Do you see anything?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think the challenges are the work.
Yeah.
Women, we can see from other careers, management consultants travel all the time.
Yeah.
Probably it's a more intellectual job, frankly. I don't think it's the ability to do the work.
Mhm.
Obviously, at some point, women are hitting what used to be called or still called the glass ceiling. And why is that? Probably because most private equity firms were started by a couple of men together.
Yeah.
They still run the place.
Mhm.
They're much more comfortable, and I can't blame them for this. They're much more comfortable hiring men.
Mhm.
They prefer to work with men. It's a much more collegial group than having a couple of women. They'll have all kinds of excuses like, well, the women she's going to get pregnant. She's going to, I don't really want to take that risk, or she's got children. She's going to be involved with the children. I think it's very understandable why we are where we are. The biggest difference, and why do the consulting firms and the law firms have women at senior positions? Why? Because I think their clients demand it. If you're working for if your client is the US government is going to say, well, I don't want to I'm going to look bad, or I'm IBM. I'm going to look bad if I hire a firm that only has men partners. So you better do something about it. Now, I don't know if those women get real power jobs or not, but at least they're made partner. I think they do have real power.
Right.
So,
Right.
but I don't think there's any pressure on the smaller, especially the smaller private equity firms, to hire women, particularly.
Yeah.
Men are those investors tend to be private, or big head. Maybe the pension funds care, but the ones that are individuals or family offices or private groups,
Yes.
they're interested in returns.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the returns have been good. So if you've got a firm that's all men, fine.
Yeah. So as you rightly said that, sometimes what happens, a private equity firm is formed by two male, and then slowly, they are comfortable hiring more male than female. That could be one reason by design. And that's why maybe they go up to top level, but they had hit a ceiling. And then, they are not able to cross that ceiling and be part of that initial founding group.
That's exactly right. I think. I mean, this is anecdotal from my point of view.
That's fine.
The business for a long time,
Yeah. So, now I come to another, interesting question which I had. So what does the current gender balance look like in M&A? I think you gave some example for the things, but I would like to know, especially in M&A and private equity, what is this gender imbalance look like? And what are the factors which are contributing to this gender imbalance in this field?
Well, we talked about that. The gender imbalance is pretty bad.
Yeah. That's true. So especially in, I wanted to understand more the statistics data. You have something towards, especially on M&A side. I know you gave your database, where buyers are coming, and apart from that, any other inputs you have?
No, I mean, I think it's an obvious. I don't know if I want to say if it's a problem. I mean, so far the M&A, the private equity world has performed very well. I mean, they buy, to put it very simply, they buy wholesale, and that was the way it used to be, and they sell retail. So I think so long as a firm is performing, the investors don't care who's running it. They just want to see good results. They want to see better than if they put their money in the stock market. So I don't think they're sitting, most of them are not sitting there and saying, gee, I'm worried they don't have any female partners.
Yeah. Okay. So I think coming to the, other question which I have in mind, what are some of the best practices or a strategy that have been effective in promoting gender diversity?
Well, I think the trick if you're a firm that's actually interested in this and not just giving lip service to it.
Mhm.
I'll give you a story. I was talking to somebody I like very, very much, been in the business forever, but not that old. And I said to him, I don't know, before COVID, so 4 or 5 years ago, I said to him, gee, you've got 5 partners and your firm's not that old. What do you think about having your next partner be a woman? And I caught him off guard. He said, well, what do you mean, a woman? Why would I want to have a woman as a partner? And you really saw the thinking. I think that's very kind of typical of what's going on. So what are the best practices? I don't know if there are any best practices. The best practice, of course, would be you have an analyst, an associate, you bring them along. There's an idea that they can make partner. The accounting firms were very good at this in the beginning. The law firms are pretty good. They've said, if you want to have a baby, we'll support you. We'll help you freeze your eggs. If you want to have a child later on, we will do whatever we can. We want to keep you. I don't know that that's a message that the private equity firms are sending down to their women at all. So that's an issue. You got to bring women along, and you have to somehow say, we're going to make this work for you, the way the law firms have done and the accounting firms have done.
Yeah, because law firm, as you gave your statistics, if I look at, there are many, and I know many law firms where partners are.
That's right. Yeah. And, I got to believe the surgeons, typical, very male-oriented field, I don't think they're getting any breaks. That would be my guess. I don't know that many surgeons, but I have a feeling women surgeons are not being told, we're going to make it work. They just make it work somehow. The women do.
Yes.
But you have to have, but again, if you're a surgeon and you're the expertise on hand surgery, I don't care if you're a male or female, I'm going to you. Private equity?
Exactly.
Does it really make a difference? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So, I would like to know more from you, like if you can share some of the success story of organization that have successfully achieved gender diversity in M&A. You have.
I can't think of any. Really, not really. Can't think of any. I mean, yes, again, there's a lot of lip service to this, but it's not like as I said, I went to an event 2 weeks ago and it was still me, 4 other women and all men. It's a men's club. So what I've been saying for years is don't fight this if you're a woman. When I will speak at an event, at the end of the event, there'll be 10 men who will come up to me and they'll say, you know what, I'm working for X private equity firm. I want to leave. I have some family money. I can get my hands on some money. I want to start my own firm. It's so rare that a woman ever comes up to me. If you can't beat City Hall, if you can't beat them, if you can't join them, then beat them. You got to leave. You got to start your own firm. You got to stop worrying about this. If this is a field you like, if you think you can make money in it, go off on your own. Take another woman as a partner, but take a man with you so that you have, quote, legitimacy, at least in the beginning. But I don't really, maybe these firms will finally feel pressure from their investors to hire a woman or two. But again, I don't really think they care. So start your own firm.
Yeah. So I think, most of the big corporation, at least I know that there is a, prime, they have a KPI to, make sure that there are females, given equal opportunity and, a role-based, rotation of the responsibility of female employee so that they get, better position in the company. So don't you think that, even private equity or M&A, this should be driven from the human resources side, or maybe organizational KPI to drive female to come up to that level? I think I'm sure that some company drives it. At least I have
been talking about this for years, and I don't see any difference. I don't see any difference. So maybe eventually, and also private equity is now huge. But again, I just look at my own database. I don't see 20% of the people that we talk to are female partners. It's very interesting. Go pick up any big or moderate-sized private equity firm. Look at the partners, then look at the associates, and you're going to see a sea of men, just a sea of men. I was doing this yesterday to get ready for this. I was looking at one of the very well-known private equity firms, big name, 1 or 2 women occasionally on every page.
Yeah, got it. So, another question which comes to my mind is, how can organization measure and track progress towards improving gender diversity in M&A? I know many companies have this KPI, as I was saying you, but do you have any, can you suggest something that how organization can measure and track progress towards improving gender diversity in M&A?
I think the only thing I can suggest is that you start your own firm. And, why do men deal with me? I'm sure they don't really want to, but I have the goods. I'm selling the company, so they have to deal with me,
Yeah.
Have the goods, start your own firm, have great results. Investors will flock to you. At that point, I think investors are going to start to say, wait, this firm is, if they are doing better, maybe you, my other firm I'm invested in, should hire a woman. Maybe that'll make a difference. Maybe you'll do better. I don't really know. I don't think that I mean, again, you'll see, and when women get together, they'll tell you, well, we got to a certain point, and then Squee wasn't going to make partner. Got to a certain point, there was no understanding of the fact that I wanted to have children, and there was going to be a period of time when I couldn't travel all the time. Got to a certain point, and I just felt that I was never going to be part of the club. So, and maybe I'm wrong. Let's hope I'm wrong. Maybe in 10 years from now, this is going to be a totally different picture, especially if more women are getting educated than men. At some point, that's going to have to make a difference.
Right. Maybe the pace might be slow. That's what you have been saying, that, all your database, whatever data you have for each mostly says that, females are there, but they are not up to the, they
don't move well, and they're not even there really. There's really not that many there.
Yeah. Okay, so I have another and very interesting and last question to you.
Okay.
Are there any regional or industry specific variation in gender diversity within M&A? Have you seen?
Probably in what are considered to be sort of female oriented industries. So consumer or anything to do with cosmetics. You're probably going to see more women there than you are retail, than you are in other, than in say aerotech firm, for instance. But again, I don't know that I don't have the statistics to back this up. This is just, again, anecdotal. But there are plenty of men also in consumer, not to say there aren't men in consumer.
And also it might vary country to country.
I don't have any statistics besides the United States. I have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world.
Right, because country like India, I see wherever I go, I see more females working in this shop floor, go to factory. There are a drive especially to recruit females to work in manufacturing plants. So,
but are they the president?
Not all, but of course, if you look at, there is still there is a gap, but I think this is picking up faster. That's what I felt.
Well, that's good. That's great.
Yeah. Last 10 years, at least, I see myself, wherever I go, I find females working. Maybe they might not be the top lady, but at least the crowd, I can see more.
More women. That's fantastic. Then you're way ahead of us then.
Right. Even when I was part of M&A team, when I was working for a French company, I used to see so many females part of my team. And of course, they were also in the very senior level.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's fantastic. That's great to hear.
Yeah, because many companies have this mandate and they have a KPI to make sure that there is a board, there's equal diversity of male, female, also in the leadership team. And I see that.
I think it's easier for a big company.
Yeah.
First of all, you need more people.
Exactly.
But for a small firm, let's say you're a private equity firm, you've got 5 or 6 partners.
Right.
You might have a woman who's pretty good and is supporting you and gets to be a managing director, let's say, or a principal. But to make a partner, well, you're a club. Do you really want a woman in there?
Right.
So, and I don't even think it's conscious necessarily. I don't blame them. I think if I were a female firm with 5 women, I'm not sure I'd want a man. People are comfortable with what they know.
Right. So I think I think we see different variations. Maybe when I start a company, then I have freedom to choose. If I work in a company, I don't have freedom to choose. Maybe that could be another reason. But I think we all have to work together to make sure that there are more females, and they are in the part of board. They are part of leadership team, especially in M&A. Is one of the areas.
Yes and no. I mean, in this country, United States, after World War II, there were a lot of companies that we've sold headed by somebody who was an immigrant often, Why? Because they were, in this country and no one would give them a job. So what did they do? This is what I'm promoting. They started their own firm.
Yeah.
That is the way you really get, I think, you have to be gutsy, you have to go do it, but
yeah,
that's how you really, I think in private equity, that's how you're going to move the needle.
Yeah. So a very interesting discussion today. And Michelle, I think some of the data point you gave, I think it's good for audience to think through and see, if they find something getting changed, and the private equity guy who is listening here, they have to work harder to make sure that there are females in the partner level and they are in the leadership position. So thanks for your time today.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
again. Yeah. Thank you and have a good day.